No Film School's NAB 2022 coverage is brought to you by Blackmagic Design and Creative Solutions, which consists of Small HD, Teradek, and Wooden Camera, and Atomos.
So guys, we're here with one of the most innovative companies in lighting technology. That's Aputure. This is Ted Sim. Ted's bringing out, like I saw him on stage last night, there was Steve Jobs chants for the brother. There's different colors are happening. There's DMX, there's apps, there's all the way from a light this big to look at the size of some of these things. Ted, what's new with Aputure?
Yeah, I think since day one, the goal's been pretty simple. Can you make a light that can quite literally do everything? And I know that sounds ridiculous, but the goal is there. And frankly, the way that the industry has existed for the longest time, if you need a hard light and a soft light, they're different lights, right? We used to have panels and hard sources, and if you want to diffuse something, you have to separate your diffusion because the lights used to be so hot that quite literally you would burn your hand before touching them. So for us, what we're doing from the very beginning is, if you've seen any light now, continuous LED lighting with modifiers on it, that's what we brought to the industry. And I think we're super excited because in the early days when we started off, people didn't believe that this was a way that we could work. And
I know like gaffer friends and DP friends in New York would kind of be like, oh, you know, we rent everything from, you know,
Absolutely.
big houses and we don't do LED, you know, and
Yeah.
it's like now like those same guys are like, oh, I brought this Aputure head.
Absolutely.
So seeing that progression is really exciting.
Yeah.
I think part of it is the temperature of LED like allows just different flexibility.
Absolutely. And what that means is that basically now you can mount any modifiers that you want onto the actual accessory itself instead of having it on a separate stand. Right. So you start with a point source hard light. If you want to keep that hard, keep it hard. If you want to shape it, you can use a Fresnel, a modifiable beam angle. If you want to make it a soft light, put a softbox on it. You want a lantern, you want to project that light through a mount with gobos. All of that is actually now accessible via one light and one mount. You don't have to change the light out every single time. So as we did that, we started with the 120D, and that light made waves, right? We've seen that light go everywhere. The 300D, the 600D, and then a couple weeks ago we released the 1200D. A lot of people said it's not possible. LED will never be as bright as an M18. Well, it just came out a couple weeks ago, the 1200D. Check the tests online. I don't need to tell you about it. People are using them to replace their M18s on set now. Going beyond that as well, though, these are modifiable lights. They're not going to light on fire. You can modify them, put those accessories, but what goes beyond the brightest light that you can plug into a household circuit? And for us, we got that here behind us today. We have the Aputure 600C Pro. What we did is we designed and we took the same color science that was in the Aputure Nova, compressed that into a point source chip on board. We designed the component level. On the literal component, we designed that to make sure that this chip on board, we're not talking about RGB ACL technology, we're talking about RGB WW technology that matches exactly to all of the other Aputure lights that are in our fixture series. So.
I mean, what Aputure does to me that's really interesting is you don't just manufacture things using existing components, you develop components. You develop technology that goes into your things. That's why you're such a leader. That's why you can do things around temperature, around modularity that other people aren't even thinking about. What do you see as the kind of looking forward, filmmakers have all these new tools, what do we need, what's your kind of vision for what you want to bring out?
Absolutely. I'd say, in one word, it's ecosystem, right? I think one of the ways that we control our lights right now, it's been so inefficient up until so long. To do wireless control of our lights, we have basically jerry-rigged and used a lot of different ways. Currently right now, to use wireless DMX, we're going through a router which sends out our signal one-to-one to each light, but if the router goes down, if the network goes down, everything falls apart. And likewise, if your phone or your app dies, this is a problem off the get-go. So what we do is, again, as you talked about, we actually design the components that go in here. We have the Sidus Link mesh Bluetooth module that actually builds into every single one of our lights, and that's not standard Bluetooth. What that module means is that your lights are not just receiving from your phone, or they're not receiving from one transmitter. What they're actually doing is every light is actually communicating two ways. Every light verifies the other lights that are on the network. Your MC, your tiny light, is going to connect with your 1200D, and it's actually going to communicate. And this is going to build a wireless network that even if your phone dies, the network exists. You can grab somebody else's phone, log in, and what it'll do is it'll connect to the nearest light and relay that signal and throw it around.
You're not hearing about mesh networking from any other lighting company than Aputure. Right here, you heard it first. We have the app, we have the RGB, it's like everywhere. You can controlling.
Yeah.
Have you seen what are the innovative ways you've seen creatives use your products?
Oh, I mean, the past 3 years have been insane. I think in terms of the growth, in terms of, again, in the beginning, we kind of started off as this content creator company. And then the past couple of years, I mean, now we're on some of the biggest shows out there, biggest movies out there, talking to high-end DPs that, the Better Call Saul. We were talking about The Expanse. Talking with, we have our friend Larry Fong. All these high-end DPs now are weighing into the actual design of the products, and we're actually working together with them to develop better gear as we move forward. So on the high end, what's exciting is we're now pushing the envelope of what's possible in filmmaking. And then also for the content creator community, we're going to bring some of that innovation down, because this is an industry where 25 years ago, it was really just giant broadcast companies that could produce content, right? A camera used to cost for movies $1 million. That world is changing, and we have a diversified creator community now. Independent filmmaking is a thing that can exist separate to that. So we're making sure that no matter what we do, we bring that innovation for everybody as well too.
One of my favorite moments on set recently, I was with a DP buddy, big New York guy, and he pulled out a bunch of MCs and slapped them under a bunch of lighting, a bunch of cabinets in the kitchen. And I was like, I can remember being on sets where the DP, it took an hour and a half to string up the Kinos, and you got to line each Kino in, and hide the ballast in the cabinet, and and it was just like, he's like, no, bang, 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 with tape, controlled it on his phone, we were ready to shoot in a few minutes.
And if you're doing narrative, that means you have time for, I don't know, maybe you can get a couple more shots in, maybe you get more coverage, maybe that actress that's concerned about this take gets 5 more goes at it. Yeah. And that's the stuff that should really matter on film sets. It shouldn't be about how can I rig and tape this stuff. And I think for us, it's how can we think about the details, right? So for this color matching stuff, right now, up until now, believe it or not, the standard, even on high-end sets, is I want to match a couple of these RGB fixtures. I have a Sky Panel and a Gemini. If I tune them both on HSI to 240 degrees on the color wheel, one's going to give you blue, one's going to give you green. That is a humongous problem. There's no color standards in this industry. And then the underlying color science underneath this varies from fixture to fixture, even within the same brand series. The Orbiter and the Sky Panel, they use different color science. That's unreasonable for us off the get-go. So for us, we have to design it to make sure that we're consistent, that we think of the details for you guys so you don't have to worry about that. And then again, we're leveling it and making sure that no matter what, you don't have to worry about this. You just dial it in and then think about things that matter more.
One thing we were talking about a little before the conversation was just the idea that some of your products still have interoperability with existing tech. Can you talk about how you've been able to build things that go both backwards and forwards into the future?
Absolutely. So we showed off a couple of products yesterday, a couple ones that we are showing, and we were just showing to friends and press and members of the Aputure family, is we did show the MC Pro, which is our wireless DMX controllable version of the MC, weatherproofing as well too. We showed the MT, which are tubes from Aputure. I'm just going to show these for a second, but I think what we really want to get to is the last thing that we talked about yesterday. And the last thing that we talked about yesterday is we talked about Sidus Link, right? And that's that network, that ecosystem that we were talking about before. And what's cool about that ecosystem is yesterday, for the first time ever, we announced Sidus Link, that app that that powers your entire network. That app, we have just now officially added full DMX control in as well too, which means that any light out there that has wireless DMX capability, we're talking about lights that are older from this announcement. We're talking about lights that, again, have only been controllable up until now via wireless DMX, but via Luminaire, via blackout. Now you can use Sidus Link to not only control all of your Aputure lights, but those lights as well. So yesterday, I was demoing on the iPad. If I wanted to pick gels for my Sky Panels, I wanted to pick gels for my Geminis, my Asteras, you can now do that from Sidus Link. If I want all of my lights to dance and go cyan to red to green, you can now synchronize all those all together as well too. And this app can be seen real quick. If you haven't played with the app, our designers, of course, put a lot of time and a lot of love into this. It's really a part of the user interface. So right here, I quite literally have a Sky Panel. Yesterday, I was going here, I have my gel library here. If I want to go in, grab color, I can now change this to any color that I want in my brightness and intensity settings, just like that. It should be easy. You shouldn't need to have to take a 5-day class to learn how to do this stuff. It should be something that you can actually do and be able to work on the flow quickly.
I mean, Aputure is a lighting company, but they're also a technology company, bro. Like, that is a really interesting and an incredible achievement, and we're really excited to see this. I just want to actually take this iPad out of your hands, and I might get kicked out of the booth.
Hey,
but
you're welcome to if you'd like to play and learn. Seriously.
Yeah. Ted, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Thanks. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Can I just
absolutely.
Give me like 2 seconds on this thing.
Go for it.
Yeah.
This is just so crazy.
Unlock this for us real quick. I mean, yesterday we had the full demo with like the Sky Panels and stuff. Today we don't have those lights here.
Yeah, it's really crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's your big iteration.
Yeah.
It's like once you're doing that, you're in
Quite
everybody's.
literally, you just pick colors like that. You just dial it in however you want. And then these are all of your intensities, and you literally just dial them in.
Oh, dope.
Here, if you want gels, you click up here. There's your gels right here.
Okay, full
CTO.
CTO. Okay, there we go.
Just grab a light and say, I want this one. Swap that just like that.
Oh.
Too. Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I think we're just hanging out, just showing stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah. You can switch if you want it to be a daylight or a tungsten light going through that gel. Built in here as well too. Give it a try, play it.
And is this controlling an actual light?
This is not controlling an actual light. We did this demo yesterday. Yesterday we were having people come up and touch this though. So again, here's that. You can save presets as well too. So all of these are here. And then yeah, full control intensity. If you want more precise control in there as well. We have magic program and color picker effects too. So fixture management, all of that's built in here. We can actually do even things like recording. If you haven't seen on SideSync before, you can actually scan and use the camera of your phone to scan a color, save that color, and then have it reloaded.
Oh, cool.
And you can send that color to other people as well too. So if you want like Wes Anderson yellow, scan that yellow and then throw it to people. And you can make your palettes beforehand as well too. So all in one place, super easy and ready to go.
Dope.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.